Hanju sized up his youngest daughter again. She was really like him, be it appearance or personality. Hanju suddenly felt that he had a successor. Han Huang had never given him such a feeling. I have to nurture her well. Linger will deal with them if the little fellows outside dare to rebel. Hanju smiled when he thought of this. Han Ling asked, Father, can you bring me to the chaotic assembly? Although I'm not participating, I also want to see the strength of the chaotic geniuses. Hanju nodded and brought his other wives and children to watch the battle. The father and daughter chatted for a while before Hanju started to check his emails. As the chaotic assembly approached, the battles in his circle of friends began to increase. Most of them were attacked and were rarely severely injured. They were probably sparring. Then, Hanju's gaze landed on the ultimate origin world in the depths of his soul. The first chaotic fiend celestial, the life fiend celestial, had already attained the Tao. The ultimate origin world was higher than the previous primordial chaos and chaos. There was no way to create living beings for the time being even if the life fiend celestial attained the Tao. It couldn't figure out how to create them. It was mainly because it was ignorant. The reason why it wanted to create living beings was that it felt lonely. Hanju thought for a moment and sent a wisp of his will into the ultimate origin world. At this moment, the life fiend celestial was cultivating on a planet with an ocean, land, mountains, and trees. The life fiend celestial's body was larger than a mountain. Sitting in the mountains, every breath would stir up a terrifying peak and shake the forest. It was like a snake with 3 heads. The head in the middle looked like a man with fierce eyes and eyebrows. The heads on both sides looked like women. Its facial features were demonic and its long hair fluttered. A figure emitting a dazzling divine light appeared in front of the life fiend celestial's middle head. It was Hanju. The life fiend celestial opened its eyes and stared at him. No battles occurred in the ultimate origin world for the time being, so the life fiend celestial was not afraid. It was only puzzled. It couldn't sense Hanju's aura. Hanju smiled and asked, What are you confused about? The life fiend celestial said, I want to create existences like me. The more, the better, but I can't succeed. It had to be said that the chaotic fiend celestial was extremely simple. Facing the mysterious Hanju, it also told him the truth. Hanju smiled and said, I have a way. You need to use the power of creation. To the chaotic fiend celestials, the ultimate origin world was endless. However, such a huge world was filled with loneliness, making cultivation meaningless. Other than cultivating, most chaotic fiend celestials were in a daze. In their respective domains, they looked up at the same lonely ultimate origin universe. After a long while, Hanju quietly disappeared and the life fiend celestial fell into an epiphany. Hanju opened his eyes. He couldn't help but sigh. He didn't expect that he would have to personally push the development process. Currently, although the ultimate origin chi in the ultimate origin world was increasing, it was far inferior to 1% of the nebulous primordial chi. Chaos, Sword Dao River, in the pale spacetime. A river formed by sword chi flowed away, never to return. With his hands behind his waist, his robes fluttered with the sword chi. A figure appeared in the distance and also stood on the Sword Dao River. It was Laozi. Laozi stared at Li Daokong and said, What a powerful Sword Dao will. You've just entered the Great Dao and actually have such strength. Li Daokong looked at him and said, Grandmaster, long time no see. Laozi said calmly, I'm not your Grandmaster. You're already teacher's successor. In terms of seniority, we should be of the same generation. Laozi's expression changed slightly. You can feel it? Laozi was silent. Li Daokong clenched his right hand and the golden river dissipated. He turned around and said, Grandmaster, it seems that you have desires, after all. There's actually another heavenly Tao hidden in the Sword Tao River, an even stronger heavenly Tao. No wonder your cultivation is so powerful. It can draw the power of all living beings' faith. Impressive. His figure turned into stars and dissipated without waiting for Laozi to answer. His last words echoed in the Sword Tao River. Grandmaster, although you created the Sword Tao, I will surpass you. I will challenge you when I reach the Supreme Realm. At that time, it will not only be a battle between us, but also a battle between two Sword Tao rivers. Laozi did not stop Li Daokong from leaving. His gaze landed on the vast Sword Tao River below and he muttered, Sword Tao? That's just your narrow definition. In a huge palace, 2 rows of stone pillars surrounded by fire dragons illuminated the hall. Huang Zuntian sat at the head of the table. Dozens of steps below him stood existences emitting powerful auras, including Ancestor Shitian, Li Daokong, Shi Dudao, Jing Tiangong, and the others. The weakest was at the Freedom Realm. Huang Zuntian asked expressionlessly, How's the situation? The others replied, Yes, Laozi of the 3 pure sacred world is one of the peak existences of the chaos. It's not only him. That heavenly sect master is not easy to deal with, either. I've investigated. The prodigy nurtured by the 3 pure sacred world has inherited the teachings of the human, Jia, and Chan schools. It's said that Laozi even gave him a cultivation technique personally passed down by the Tao ancestor. I suggest we attack before the chaotic assembly. Huang Zuntian pondered after hearing his subordinate's discussion. His right index finger tapped the armrest rhythmically. Ancestor Shitian took a step forward and said, You have to deal with Laozi first if you want to deal with the 3 pure sacred world. Life Lord, think twice. Huang Zuntian leaned forward and smiled. The 3 pure sacred world has to be controlled. As for how to deal with Laozi, I have a way. If Laozi is not in the 3 pure sacred world, can you be confident in flattening the 3 pure sacred world and seizing its lineage? Li Daokong added, I can deal with the heavenly sect master. Ancestor Shitian did not have much experience and ability to develop. He had only guarded the heavenly Tao in the past and had never interfered with its management. Huang Zuntian stood up and smiled. The Life faction has been lying low for a long time. It's time to show our sharpness. The heavenly Tao will definitely have no objections to destroying the 3 pure sacred world. We'll leave after destroying it and seizing its lineage. We can't stay in the 3 pure sacred world for long. We obey Master's instructions. All Life members immediately accepted the order. Time passed quickly. The spectators by the river felt that the water flowed very slowly, but the fish were very fast. Hanju opened his eyes. Another 500,000 years passed. He first entered the simulation trial and challenged the 9-headed divine spirit. He easily killed the 9-headed divine spirit in less than 5 minutes. He continued to challenge. After dozens of times, he reduced the time needed to kill the 9-headed divine spirit to 20 breaths. Not enough! It still took time to insta-kill the 9-headed divine spirit. Hanju looked at Hanling. This girl was still focused on cultivating. Her cultivation level kept increasing, making him feel that her cultivation speed was even faster than Han Huang's. Could it be his influence? After all, Han Huang did not follow him every day. After leaving the 3rd Tao field, Han Huang still had to fight with the evil Heavenly Emperor. This would also delay his cultivation time. No matter what, it was a good thing that Han Ling cultivated quickly. Hanju started to check his emails. He was shocked. They fought. Your good friend Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning was attacked, X49. Your good friend Li Daokong was attacked by a mysterious mighty figure. Your good friend ancestor Shitian was attacked by a mysterious mighty figure. Your good friend Laozi was attacked by your good friend Huang Zuantian. Your good friend Huang Zuantian was attacked by your good friend Laozi and was severely injured. Your good friend Laozi was cursed by a mysterious curse. His dermic powers are in chaos. Your good friend Jing Tiangong has cursed too much and caused too much karma. His soul has been damaged. Life in the three pure sacred world fought. There were many emails below. Clearly, many years had passed since this battle. Hanju teleported to the main Dao field and looked at the three pure sacred world. The heavenly Dao was closer to the three pure sacred world. Hanju could see it at a glance. The once magnificent three pure sacred world no longer existed. The void was filled with ruins, corpses, broken islands, and so on. It was no longer lively. An extremely exaggerated spatial crack stood above the three pure sacred world, as if it had been slashed out by a sword. Hanju secretly deduced that the spatial crack was created by Li Daokong. The current Li Daokong was already a great Dao sage and was extremely strong. As for the battle between Huang Zuantian and Laozi, he could not deduce it. He guessed that the two of them were fighting in a special domain. Hanju retracted his gaze inside. He did not expect Huang Zuantian to have already grown to this extent. Hanju thought for a moment and came to the 33rd heaven and landed in the Universal Hall. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du was studying an 8 trigrams painting. He immediately stood up and bowed when he saw Hanju. Hanju was not interested in the 8 trigrams painting. He asked after sitting down, "How's the situation in the three pure sacred world?" Heavenly Venerate Xian Du replied, "There's nothing. The three pure sect leaders have already left this domain. After the Life faction snatched their resources, they also left one after another. In short, the Heavenly Dao has also benefited. At least, there are no longer any obstacles and dangers in the three pure sacred world. I think that the Life Lord also guessed this. That's why he dared to attack the three pure sacred world. No force dared to attack the Heavenly Dao in the current chaos. Not even Life. Therefore, Heavenly Venerate Xian Du didn't associate Huang Zuantian with Hanju." Hanju asked, "Did Laozi look for you?" Heavenly Venerate Xian Du shook his head. "I haven't contacted teacher for a long time." Hanju asked in his mind, "Is what Heavenly Venerate Xian Du said true? 90 million years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue?" "Continue. It's true." Hanju was satisfied. He had to be wary of him, even if Heavenly Venerate Xian Du's favorability towards him was almost at its peak. Then, Heavenly Venerate Xian Du began to talk about the next development plan of the Heavenly Dao. With the destruction of the three pure sacred world, the Heavenly Dao would definitely devour its domain. Next, the Heavenly Dao would rapidly expand. In the domain under the Divine Robe Daoist, all the worlds had no choice but to befriend the Heavenly Dao. However, the Heavenly Dao still needed time if it wanted to truly dominate a region. The chaotic domain was extremely vast. The Heavenly Dao was like a drop in the ocean. At most, it was invincible in the region. Hanju left several hours later. He began to ponder after returning to the third Dao field. This was not good. It would not be worth it if the Heavenly Dao developed too quickly and provoked the ninth chaos. Hanju had to think of a way to restrict the Heavenly Dao when it was about to develop to the domain level. Of course, it would be a different story if he could already easily control the ninth chaos at that time. If he could not, he could only restrict the Heavenly Dao. Hanju was not afraid. If he couldn't defeat the ninth chaos, he could hide in the Dao field, but not the Heavenly Dao. Just as Hanju was preparing to cultivate, detected bearer of Khanate Providence, check its origin. Hanju was stunned. It had been a long time since he had seen this line of words. He immediately chose to check. Hongjun, one mystic divine origin, reincarnation of the Tao ancestor, innate great creation, Tao world divine spirit, unparalleled Tao fruit, creation providence. Reincarnation of the Tao ancestor. Honju looked over and saw a handsome young Taoist flying at the edge of the universe of stars. At first glance, this Taoist was very ordinary. His dermic powers and his cultivation level were average. It was very difficult to believe that he was the reincarnation of the Tao ancestor. Why was this fellow here? Honju first thought of a conspiracy. Ordinary great Tao sages might not be able to deduce the relationship between the universe of stars and Honju, but great Tao supreme experts could. After all, this universe originally didn't exist. It was created by Honju using the method of transforming illusion into reality. Honju began to pay attention to Hongjun. Hongjun flew for a few days and found a star to stay. He attracted Liu Bei's attention. Liu Bei found Hongjun. After interacting with him, Hongjun actually became Liu Bei's disciple. Could this be the Tao ancestors' plan? Honju didn't tell Liu Bei. He wanted to see what Hongjun was up to. Hongjun's arrival didn't affect Honju's cultivation. Soon, he entered seclusion again. On the other side, Liu Bei was preaching to Hongjun. Liu Bei was very satisfied with his attitude. He finally felt like a master. No wonder master liked to take in disciples so much. Liu Bei looked at the handsome Hongjun and sighed. Unfortunately, I could still nurture him to participate in the chaotic assembly if he came 10 million years earlier. Liu Bei suddenly felt a little regretful. He already understood Hongjun's potential. He was definitely a prodigy. Liu Bei smiled just by thinking about it. 500,000 years later, Honju was already 13 million years old. Not to mention the heavenly Tao, the chaos was already brand new. Honju glanced over. The void near the heavenly Tao was filled with cities, floating islands, and other buildings. It was the same in other domains. The chaos was considered peaceful under the great Tao divine spirit's supervision. The battle between the life faction and the three pure sacred world was nothing in the chaos. Honju estimated that the number of chaotic life forms had already increased by 100 times. A great Tao sage would be born almost every 10,000 years. As for the freedom sages, there were naturally even more. As more and more geniuses appeared, the chaos was also extremely lively. Even the great Tao door often gathered great Tao sages to exchange information. While Honju was observing the chaos, on the other side, in the consciousnessless great Tao world, Tao Sovereign and the other three had an imposing aura. They formed 4 terrifying pillars of Qi that connected the world. The diameter kept increasing, as if the entire sky was splitting. The 4 of them were very far away from each other. The nearby spring water had already been sucked dry, leaving only pits of different sizes. Jiang Yi snorted. Then can you defeat me? Defeat you? Come on. I'm not afraid. The 2 of them stood up and prepared to fight. Tao Sovereign opened his eyes and said in a low voice, "What are you fighting for? Cultivate well. You will have plenty of opportunities to fight when the chaotic assembly begins." The 2 of them had no choice but to sit down again. Tao Sovereign revealed a proud expression. Loud and carefully sized him up and discovered that he was indeed different. His eyes contained a powerful force that made one's heart palpitate. "You want to participate in the chaotic assembly?" A voice sounded, and the number 1 deity appeared behind Lao Dan. Lao Dan was secretly shocked. So fast! He did not sense it at all. Tao Sovereign looked at him and asked, "Can't we? This is our long-time plan." Tao Sovereign frowned. It's not easy to lead the chaotic prodigies. It might not work even if you obtain the title of Eternal Peak. Besides, according to you, the chaos and the consciousnessless Great Tao world can't fuse. They are opposing existences. How can the chaotic prodigies help the consciousnessless Great Tao world? He won't make a move as long as the chaos is not destroyed. He's extremely conceited. This is our opportunity, and also the opportunity of the consciousnessless Great Tao world and the heavenly Tao. Zhao Xianyuan and Jiang Yi looked at each other and did not say anything. They left it to Tao Sovereign to deal with. Tao Sovereign said in a low voice, "We will consider it." The number one deity said, "You mentioned the divine authority generals just now. The consciousnessless Great Tao world also has a similar Great Tao Providence divine authority, and it's the strongest Great Tao Providence divine authority. I've already learned it before you came. Do you want to see it?" With that said, Tao Sovereign and the other three became interested. Zhao Xianyuan urged him to show it quickly. The number one deity flew into the sky and slowly raised his arms. Boom! The ground shook violently as terrifying auras emerged from the ground like countless volcanoes erupting. Tao Sovereign and the other three were shocked. With a loud sound, a black figure broke through the ground and flew into the sky. The four of them looked over. It was a black figure. His figure seemed to be covered in armor. He was burly and domineering, emitting a terrifying aura. The moment he stopped, the surrounding space began to distort, forming a terrifying and strange scene. Tao Sovereign and the other three frowned. Zhao Xianyuan muttered, "What a powerful aura. It definitely surpasses the Great Tao Sage realm. It's even stronger than the Divine Authority Generals back then." Jiang Yi frowned. The Divine Authority Generals are powerful in terms of numbers. 20,000. With that, figures broke out from the ground and rushed into the sky like black arrows. The number one deity looked down at the vast scene gathered below and said, "The chaos already has Divine Authority Generals. Thus, I'll give them the position of Destruction Authority Generals. There are as many as 20,000 chaotic divine authorities, while I have as many as 100,000 Destruction Authority Generals." 100,000 Destruction Authority Generals. Tao Sovereign and the other three were moved. Just one made them shiver. How strong were 100,000 Destruction Authority Generals? They were filled with fear. At first, they worked with the number one deity because he was stupid. However, as time passed, they could no longer see through him. Now, they discovered that their strength was far inferior to the number one deity. This was not good. The power of the Destruction Authority Generals that filled the sky formed a darkness that covered the sky and the earth, oppressive and terrifying. The number one deity looked at Tao Sovereign. "I have such power. If you can rope in the geniuses of the chaos, you will definitely be able to overturn the chaos in the future. I promise that after overturning the chaos, the consciousnessless Great Tao world and the heavenly Tao will definitely not be enemies. You're still the realm lords of the consciousnessless Great Tao world. I want the consciousnessless Great Tao world to obtain freedom and cultivate in peace. I don't care about power, but the chaos suppressed the consciousnessless Great Tao world, causing my cultivation to be severely obstructed. I'm the first living being in the consciousnessless Great Tao world. My fate is closely related to it." The number one deity's tone was very calm, but in his opinion, he was already extremely sincere. Zhao Xianyuan spread his hands and smiled. "You're right. We think so, too. Call back these Destruction Authority Generals first." He pretended to be calm but was sweating internally. The number one deity immediately waved his hand. All the Destruction Authority Generals burrowed underground again and disappeared, leaving only dust in the sky. The number one deity exchanged pleasantries with them before leaving. Tao Sovereign's expression was solemn. He wondered if his ultimate defense had a chance of winning against 100,000 Destruction Authority generals. Jiang Yi snorted. I keep feeling that he has ill intentions. Loudon smiled. No matter what, we are his saviors. He has never hurt us and even gave us such a huge opportunity. He did not think so, but he was afraid that the number one deity would hear him, so he deliberately said good things. Dao Sovereign sat down and said, continue cultivating. We both control the great Dao Providence divine authority. We can't be left behind. Zhao Xuanyuan's expression turned ugly when he thought of the 100,000 Destruction Authority generals. He shivered just thinking about being surrounded by 100,000 Destruction Authority generals. At this moment, he suddenly thought of his master, Hanju. What was Hanju's mentality when he faced 20,000 Divine Authority generals? Sigh. He wondered how strong his master was now. Zhao Shenyuan fell into a daze. Hanju started to check his emails after observing the chaos. He discovered that Dao Sovereign and the other three appeared the most. They were all about opportunities. It seemed that they were really about to soar. Air. Apart from Dao Sovereign and the other three, Han Tua, Han Huang, Jiang Jueshi, Han Yu, Qin Ling, and the other descendants and disciples also began to frequently obtain opportunities and increase their cultivation. Hanju thought for a moment and teleported to the second Dao field. Dao Comprehension Sword and Liao were very happy to see him and immediately surrounded him. However, Hanju didn't chat with them. He quickly gathered all the Fiend Celestials in front of the Daoist temple. Regarding the chaotic assembly, does anyone want to participate? Hanju asked. Since it was a banquet he organized, he would naturally make it bigger. Guan Bubi was the first to speak. I want to participate. The other Fiend Celestials agreed and looked excited. Hanju smiled. Those who want to go out, raise your hands. I'll send you out now. With that said, most of the chaotic Fiend Celestials raised their hands. They couldn't hold it in anymore. Hanju sent them out, leaving only the Black Hell Chicken, the chaotic Heavenly Dog, the Crimson Fox, and the Dao Field Guard, Dong Zhuo. Li Yao and Dao Comprehension Sword did not want to go out, either. Hanju looked at the Black Hell Chicken and asked, aren't you going out? You're the only one who has never left the Dao field. Now that I've already gone out, aren't you going? The current Black Hell Chicken was like a black phoenix. It was extremely handsome and stood as tall as an adult. What's the point of going out? My cultivation level can still increase. There's no need to go out. The Black Hell Chicken said proudly. The chaotic Heavenly Dog followed suit. Hanju smiled. Should I send you back to the 100-Peak Immortal River and find you a Black Hell Phoenix to marry? No, no! The Black Hell Chicken hurriedly shook its head. The chaotic Heavenly Dog said, Master, it had such thoughts before, but it was dumped, so it made up its mind not to find a Dao companion anymore. Hanju raised his eyebrows. Such a story had happened in the 100-Peak Immortal River? The Black Hell Chicken said angrily, what are you shouting for? Who gave you the right to speak? The chaotic Heavenly Dog could only shut up. I don't want to go out, either. I've just attained the Great Dao and want to continue cultivating to attain the Great Dao Supreme Realm. I don't want to waste time outside. There were already 10 Great Dao Sages in the second Dao field. Because they were all chaotic Fiend Celestials, the earlier they became chaotic Fiend Celestials, the higher their cultivation level. The Black Hell Chicken, the chaotic Heavenly Dog, and the Crimson Fox immediately thanked him. Chaos ensued outside after Hanju returned to the Daoist temple. The Black Hell Chicken was furious and was settling scores with the chaotic Heavenly Dog. Hanju didn't leave immediately. Instead, he chatted with Liao and Dao Comprehension Sword. He had already given them status, so it was not easy for them to meet. He had to nurture their feelings. As they chatted, he realized that something was wrong with the two women. They were distracted during the conversation, but they looked at him with an extremely passionate gaze. With Hanju's cultivation, he could naturally tell what they were thinking. Forget it. I see that you don't want to chat. Who wants to go outside first? Hanju shook his head and laughed. Dao Comprehension Sword giggled. Can I stay? Liao blushed. Hanju was stunned. He had never experienced this before. Should he try? He was tempted. It was 50 years later when he returned to the third Dao field. Hanju sat on the 36th grade reincarnation world destruction Black Lotus in a good mood. Hanling opened his eyes and frowned. Father, why do you have two different feminine auras? Hanju said, your fourth mother and fifth mother. Hanling was enlightened and did not ask further. Hanju didn't cultivate immediately but looked at Hongjun outside the Dao field. Hongjun's potential was outstanding. He had already attained the Dao after 500,000 years. The current Hongjun had already established a lineage in the universe of stars and accepted many disciples. He was conferred the title of sage by all living beings. As for Liu Bei, he hid behind the scenes and no longer did everything himself. Hanju checked the Dao ancestor's profile picture. The Dao ancestor did not transform into Hongjun. It was still pitch black, and his true appearance could not be seen. It seemed that although this Hongjun was the Dao ancestor's reincarnation, he was not the Dao ancestor. The Dao ancestor was ever-changing and had countless Dharma idols. There might be many reincarnations like this. Hanju asked in his mind, I want to know why the Dao ancestor reincarnated as Hongjun? There is no such karma. It cannot be deduced. He couldn't derive it? Hanju's fear of the Dao ancestor increased again. He could even deduce the ninth chaos, but he couldn't deduce the Dao ancestor. Could it be that the Dao ancestor was stronger than the ninth chaos? No! If that was really the case, why would the Dao ancestor stop the heavenly Dao from developing? There was only one possibility. The Dao ancestor contained a special creation or supreme treasure. Hanju suddenly looked forward to the scene of the Dao ancestor appearing. At that time, the Dao ancestor would definitely already have the strength to challenge the Dao creator. Hanju looked at Hongjun again. I'll pretend not to know your background if you can lead all the living beings in the universe to cultivate. But I'll make you regret it if you scheme against me. Hanju thought silently. He had no grudge against the Dao ancestor, so he naturally would not deal with him. After living for more than 10 million years, Hanju's principle was not to provoke him, but they were both fine. If they threatened him, sorry, he had to die even if he had a huge backing and terrifying strength. Hanju closed his eyes and continued cultivating. The ultimate origin chi in the ultimate origin world increased after 100,000 years. Gradually, a chaotic fiend celestial in the ultimate origin world also encountered the ultimate origin chi. This fiend celestial was the space fiend celestial. In the void, the space fiend celestial looked at the vast red mist ahead with a curious expression. This fiend celestial had a human body. Its hair was white and was longer than its body. Its armor was formed by bones. Its four eyes were vertical and it had a mouth full of sharp teeth. There were two horns on its forehead that curved forward. The space fiend celestial hesitated for a while before suddenly making up its mind and rushing into the red mist. The nearby space began to distort violently when its figure was drowned by the red mist. Tens of thousands of years later, the red mist surged violently as a terrifying figure slowly stepped out. It was the space fiend celestial. The space fiend celestial raised its hands and muttered, "What a powerful force." What spirit chi is this? It's actually stronger than the nebulous primordial chi. Its ultimate origin chi, and existence higher than primordial chi. An indifferent voice suddenly sounded in the space fiend celestial's mind, startling it so much that it looked around. Its sage sense swept out, but it detected no auras of other living beings or fiend celestials in the nearby galaxies. The space fiend celestial frowned and asked in a low voice, "Who? Come out! I am the existence who created you and everything you see." Hanju's voice resounded in the space fiend celestial's mind again. The space fiend celestial was moved. It trembled and looked around excitedly. Then, no matter how it asked, Hanju's voice never appeared again. However, this matter stirred the space fiend celestial's lonely heart. So there was really a creator. It was not without a background, and that supreme existence had always been staring at it. The space fiend celestial was excited. It looked at the surrounding ultimate origin chi with anticipation. The 500,000 years of seclusion ended again. Hanju opened his eyes and felt the surging ultimate origin power. His red eyes flashed. This was a good sign. In addition, the space fiend celestial's transformation after absorbing the ultimate origin chi made Hanju see a possibility. The 3,000 fiend celestials could also evolve. Once the 3,000 fiend celestials in the ultimate origin world evolved, they would no longer be chaotic fiend celestials. They would not have a karmic conflict with the chaotic fiend celestials if they entered the chaos. Hanju was only thinking. There was a high chance that he wouldn't expose the ultimate origin world. However, this matter was enough to show one thing. The ultimate origin world's evolution was not only in spirit chi but also in all aspects, including the living beings in the world. Hanju looked forward to the ultimate origin world's growth even more. He looked at Hanling beside him. His daughter's cultivation level had been increasing. Although she was still far from the Great Tao Supreme Realm, this speed made her immersed in cultivation. Hanju couldn't help but smile. He began to check his emails. Time passed quickly, but to the living beings of the chaos, 500,000 years felt like a long time. The fiend celestials of the second Tao field had been extremely active in this time. They kept obtaining opportunities and were constantly attacked. Morongchi and the heavenly constellation fiend celestials' cultivation levels broke through a minor realm and progressed extremely quickly. Apart from the fiend celestials of the second Tao field, there was another person who attracted Hanju's attention. Chu Shiren. Your grand disciple Chu Shiren has obtained the faith of 10 billion Buddhist disciples and stepped into the Great Tao. Your grand disciple Chu Shiren created a Great Tao mystical power. His providence has increased greatly. Your grand disciple Chu Shiren has entered the chaotic crack. Your grand disciple Chu Shiren accidentally obtained an ancient inheritance and his soul transformed. Your grand disciple Chu Shiren was attacked by heavenly devils, X203972082. These were Chu Shiren's actions in the past 500,000 years. Just from the words in the emails, it could be seen that he had been living an exciting life. Chu Shiren had established a new Buddha and had been in seclusion ever since he moved to the Buddhist world near the heavenly Tao. Now, the Buddhist world was already controlled by his grand disciple, and he was an ancient legend. All living beings had only heard of his legend and had never seen his main body. It seemed that Chu Shiren was going to participate in the chaotic assembly and had been stimulated. That was why he was frantically seeking opportunities. Hanju suddenly sighed. There were still more than 1,000,000 years until the chaotic assembly. Hanju looked forward to it even more. He closed his eyes and continued cultivating. 100,000 years. 300,000 years. 500,000 years. 1,000,000 years passed in his seclusion. there were still 600 to 700,000 years until the chaotic assembly. Hanju opened his eyes. A million years of cultivation had already multiplied his strength. The ultimate origin chi in the ultimate origin world already occupied a tenth of the area.